All right, we're back with these crazy guys over here. It's COMP228 Java programming, week 11, lesson 11, part 2. We just finished connecting, well, most of us did, to our database. And we did it through our Eclipse right here. And there's two parts to it. Remember, first we have to have some kind of MAMP, WAMP, LAMP server, or you're connected to the cloud somewhere. Again, you could do it with Azure or whatever you're going to do. There's going to be some kind of database out there. I'm using MySQL because it's the most common one that we use, right? There's other ones. So you can use Postgres. There's all kinds of connections that we can make, but we're not going to do that today. All right, so we've connected, but there's two more parts to this if we want to be able to get some information. One is we need to kind of create a result set, okay, a result set. And we also need a statement, right? So the result set is going to house our, our statement information. So our statement itself is going to include things like our SQL, our select statement, as an example, right? So this is not a database course. So my assumption is that you guys know a little bit about, database, a little bit. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to help out here, right? In this insanity. So what I want to do, and it's weird how I have this. That's a weird setup that I got going on. Sorry, I just want to make sure this is all correct. Why? Oh, I created a constructor that I don't need. Okay, so in here, what I want to do is create a private connection string. So I want to kind of map my connection string, if you will, but it's really my SQL statement, right? So this is so I want to kind of here's my SQL statement, and you've seen SQL statements before, so it's not like you haven't seen this stuff. So how do I do that? I need to make it private, static. And it's going to be of type string, of course, and we're going to call it SQL, right? We can also call this our query string, which is very common, right? So instead of SQL, we can make this called, we'll call it a query string, right? And our query string is going to have all the details that's in here for how we're going to connect, right? So we're going to say select. We're going to select everything in this particular example. Select star, which means everything, from the database that you're connecting to, which is movie, the table, which is movie list, because we're already connected to the database. Where, we're not going to put a where, just like, actually, let's do that first. We can kind of specify later the where. All right, so that's really our query string, right? So we need that, right? Make sense? That's like just a regular, SQL statement. All right, because without that, we can't actually do any kind of statement. There's two kinds of statements that we can use. Well, you can use a statement and that we can declare out here outside of our try catch, right? Let's do that. So the first thing we're going to make is a statement, right? And we're going to call this lowercase statement. Make sense? And we're going to kind of make this equal to null in the beginning. So we're going to kind of initialize it, right? So this is our initialization section. All right. So once we initialize, notice I have to hover over here because I'm missing an import statement. So I'm going to go java.sql, right? And I need to do the same thing. After we have a statement, we need to get the results of our statement somewhere. So one is the statement itself. And then after we get our statement, we got to have our result set. Okay, that's got to be out there too. Right? So statement and result set, and they got to be outside of our try catch block. Right? So let's try that out. So we're going to kind of do one of these. We're going to say result set, right? We're going to call this result set is equal to null. Notice again how I get this here, this option here that I got to include result set in here. Now, if I was going to make my connection here, right, for the first time, if I had an actual connection that I was making, I would actually have to do the connection up here too. Connection is equal to null. I would have done this too. I don't have to do that right now because I'm not doing it in here. Then after I make my connection, so I've made my connection, I need to query the database, right? In order for me to do that. In order for me to do that, I've got to instantiate my statement, right? So the first piece is instantiating my statement after I've made my connection. So again, make your connection, instantiate my statement. So let's try this out. So we're going to say statement is equal to a connection dot. And then now there's some options for how we're going to connect, right? How do we, we're going to create my statement, create statement, and there's different ones, right? There's my create statement with a result set type and a result set concurrency, or just a statement by itself. Now, I'll tell you right now, the first one, create statement by itself, will allow us to do everything we need with MySQL. However, we should probably be explicit so that our statement can work with any database by choosing the second one. This requires two things. A result set, right? I'll fix my statement, it's just spelled wrong. A result set type, right? So if I type in result set dot, I get these enumerations, right? And remember that when we use a database, we have a cursor object. The cursor object is a pointer to where in the table we're looking at, right? So typically, we want to either be at the line, the row that we're pointing, or below, or before, wherever we're pointing, right? So, but in most tables, not MySQL, we can't scroll back, right? We don't have the ability for us to scroll back, right? So we want to use if we want to scroll back, if I want to pull different parts of our table in one kind of statement, I want to be able to use this type scroll insensitive. So let's choose that one. Scroll insensitive means I don't have to just scroll forward. Scroll forward means my cursor can only look forward. I can go down the table, but I can't go back up the table again, right? So in order for me to go up and down the table, I've got to use this set, type scroll insensitive. And this one here, this result set concurrency, right, is how I want to do it right now. Do I want to be able to read and write, or do I want to just be able to read? We're going to limit ourselves to reading because today it's all about reading. So we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to say result set dot, and we're going to get this enumeration, and we're going to kind of go in here and say concur read only. If I was going to say concur updatable, that means I can read and write, right? But all we want is concur read only. So we only want to be able to read from the database. And that, my friends, is the statement. We have to I just have to fix this so I can make it statement instead of statement. Statment. I spelled it wrong. So this is this. Now, once we connect, we've connected to the database, right? And this is the two pieces we've got in here. Are we missing a piece? Because we've got these two pieces, right? The result type, being the scroll insensitive, and the other piece, which is the read only, right? We've got to be able to map to our result set, right? Because these are the two pieces here, right? So in our result set then, which is our result set, now that we have access to that option, we're going to say, well, that's equal to our statement dot execute query, right? And we're going to put in there the query string that we defined up above. If that makes sense to you. Right? So Our query string is what we're using, and we're going to get it inside of this object result set. Okay, so I want to be able to display my movie. I want to be able to display this object, right? So how do I do that? How do I display what I'm getting back from my query? I'm going to get a big group of stuff that I want to set up, that I want to be able to access, right? So if I want to just show the ID of all the movies, right? I can put that in here. So remember, here's my movie ID. Just writing in my try catch block, I can put in something like this. Well, sys out, right? I'm going to sys out this one. And inside there, I want to put something like this. Result set dot. Right now, I want to target specific things that I want to print out, right? I want to get integer, right? That's what my my integer is. My first column is an integer. It's the ID, right? And I'm going to call it ID. That's what I'm printing out. So I'm using the result set getInt method to get the integer value, right, from the column that's called ID. That's what this is doing. All right. Now, when we open a connection, we have to close the connection. But we're closing the connection, right? We're opening and closing the connection already, right? The thing we need to do is this connection has to close. Anytime we open something, we need to close it. And we need to close it in reverse order, right? So we have a try, we have a catch, and we're going to put another section in a try catch, which is called finally. Right? In our finally, this other piece of the try catch block, what we're going to do is we're going to close them in reverse order. So the last thing we did was result set, so that's got to close first. So we're going to check first if it's open. So if result set, right, is not equal to null, means it hasn't not been initialized, then what do we want to do here? We want to do a result set dot close, right? I get an error here. Why am I getting an error? Because when I do an open or a close, I need to encapsulate it in a try catch, right? So I can make a complicated try catch in here, but you know what? We're just going to say add. We're going to make this our main method here. Throw a declaration. We're going to throw a this declaration, a SQL exception. We're going to fix that later on. Now we're going to copy this a couple times. We're going to say once, so we close for the result set. Twice, we're going to close for the statement. 3 times, we're going to close for the connection. Right? So this instead of result set, we're going to call this statement, and we're going to do statement.close, right? And the last one, instead of it's going to be connection, then it's going to be connection.close. And now we have a problem. It says connection doesn't know what it is. It says create local variable connection. Well, how come? Because we created in our try block. So one way to avoid that is to do a return. Right? And let's see if that actually works. And maybe not. Because we don't have any access to the connection in here at all. So let's leave that out for now. But typically you have to close it up here too. And you have to do it in the finally. When you're finally done, you want to close it up. Let's leave it as is for now. We'll come back and fix it anyway. Let's check to see if this bloody thing works now. Right? So I'm going to click this button here. And then we have an error message. It says error message is before start of result set. All right, this is good. So our error code is 0. We tried to get it. Our SQL state is S1000. Did you get the same result?
Yeah.
All of us should get the same result. So if I want to get, I want to print it out. How come I'm before the start of my result set? How can I set my cursor, right, to the first object that I want to read? So first I got to start reading from somewhere. If I don't tell it to read from somewhere, it's not going to know where to start. So what do I do? How do I make it so it reads from somewhere? I got to set my cursor somehow. Well, what you can do is before I do this result set stuff, which I'm going to do here with my execute query, right? That's going to get the result set. I execute my query here, and I print it out. So is there a way that I can show, different parts, or point my cursor at different parts of my database, right? How do I do that? This is a good thing. Before start of result means we're still there, right? My result set. And all I'm doing here is I'm saying select everything from movie list, right? So how do I point to the first object in my database, the first row? Well, let's see if there's some, if I use result set, was that the right thing to use? Can I do something like result set dot next? I could do that. I don't know what that does, but that could say I want to print out the next result, right? And here I'm only printing out the result ID, right, of one item. There's no for each loop or anything like that here. I'm not doing a while loop, that I'm going through and I'm figuring this stuff out at all. I'm just going through and I'm just, moseying on down the road, right? This isn't good. So let's try this out. If I do this again, I get connected database, and you notice I only get one. And I did result set next because I only asked for my ID, right? Now I got the whole loop. In my result set, it's everything. It's 11 items, right? So let's try and print out the rest. So I will do sys out, right? And I'll do result set dot get string, and this time it'll be the name of the movie, right? And we'll do the same thing, sys out, right? And then result set dot, well, we can't do the description because it's too freaking long, right? The description is like, 1,000 characters. So it's too big. We can use this nicely in a Java effects file, but not here, right? Here we need to kind of specify the next column. And if I can't remember the column, I can always look it up here in my PHP MySQL, right? So here's my name, my description I'm not going to touch. Let's go release date, rating, and genre. Release date, that's a date. Let's leave that for now. Let's go into genre for now. And we'll come back to these other ones in a second. So genre. So if I've done everything correctly, I should see all these things in a result set. Let's see if I'm right. So run. Connect to database 1, Spectre, action, adventure. So it's actually reading from my database. So how do I go to the next one and the next one and the next one? I got to keep going to the next one, right? And how do I know when to stop? Well, when there's no more. There's no more to look at, right? I can use a while loop. But what do you put in the while loop? What's the condition you check for?
Total number of records.
Okay.
No, you don't. Oh, you just look through result set.next in the while.
Okay. Let's try this out. While result set next. While there's a next one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's try this out. So if I say while result set.next, right? Take away this little thing, and I'll put this in here. Then do all this, right? And what I want to do, just to make it easy, is after each line, this is all print line. We'll make it print, like this. We can also do it other ways, right? So print this ID, and then plus we'll add in a let's say some kind of other things in the print statement, right? Like this. We'll say movie 1, and then some formatting, right? Plus, we'll add in some spacing, and then a dash, and then the name of the movie, right? Plus some spacing and a dash, and then the result, like the genre, and then we'll do the next line, right? So we'll keep doing that every time, and then at the end of every I mean, that's actually, that's pretty good. Let's do that. There we go. And let's see what this does. Let's see if it works. So run it. Yay, here's our database. So we've effectively done a read. But one of the challenges that we have is we got to do this finally crap, right? Which is a mess. Imagine if you had like lots of other connections and everything else. And this is like kind of a mess to kind of take care of. Now there's one structure that we have we've never seen before. It's kind of almost like a complex try, right? I like to call it my complex try, right? Imagine if you can make the try into not just a set of braces, but also some kind of parameterized try, right? Like this. And inside my parameterized try, right, I want to do all that beautiful work that we've been talking about until now. This connection string, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, my statement, my result set, all that stuff should be in my parameterized try, right? So if I move all this, right, all this, you know, into there, so I'll take all this stuff here, cut it, and go into my parameterized try and put it in here. Right, now I get some issues, so we have to deal with these issues here for a second. So let's see what it says, right? One is, it says that if I hover over this thing, it says syntax error, syntax error, syntax error, right? Which is a bit of a problem. That's one of the issues that we're getting, right? We're saying, hey, there's a bunch of syntax errors. How come? It also could be that when you notice in my parameterized try, right, that and this is a new thing for Java JDBC. Notice how I have a finally, and I have this catch. Well, when I put stuff in my parameterized try, I don't need to have a finally anymore, so I can get rid of this. So that's one thing. So I don't need to do any of the closing. It does it all for you, which is kind of cool, right? Because I don't want to. Who wants to do what we call it? Go through all this stuff and do all this over and over again. This is a lot of maintenance involved. So that's one thing I need to take care of. The catch is cool, and notice how I have a SQL exception, right? But here, what kind of options does it give me to fix this? It says misplaced constructs. Misplaced constructs. So I want to do this try, right? And it's exactly the same as a regular try catch block, right? But the only difference is that I want to be able to put this stuff in here. So if I take this one out, my system dot out to print the connection string, it goes away. Take a look. Because I can't put in my try, I can't assign. Okay, this is just basically saying, here's the stuff I want to try and connect to. This is all the stuff I want to do. I can't do it with the system.out.println. Let's put that actually over here. So I've connected to the database. If I go through this, I can connect to my database, right? I'm still in the curly braces, right? Which means that I'm still in my try block. Now I'm getting two more, statement and result set. How come? Well, because I'm doing it out here already. Look, I can't do this. They don't exist outside this parameterized area. This is like a parameter that I'm setting up, almost like a anonymous function that I'm sending in things, right? So instead of my initialization has to be done within my try, my parameterized try. Let's try this out. So this statement here, like this, can go away, and I can put this down here. And the same thing goes with my result set. My result set has to move away from here and be put over here. And now I don't need these. I don't need this initialization anymore. So my objects become a little bit less complex. Take a look. The only thing that's a little complex is if you've never seen this syntax before. This is a Java syntax. All right. So this is the parameterized try equivalent, or a complex try, if you will. Right? And you might see this in the book. It'll show you the same thing. So in my try block, I have parentheses before my curly braces. And this is what I'm trying to connect to. So I'm doing my connection string, my statement, and so on, my result set. And at the end, I'm doing my catch. Let me just get rid of this return for a second. Let's see if this works after I've refactored, right? So I'm going to print factor, and I still get my access to my database. See? Ravina, still having problems? She can't connect? How about Selena? You good still or no? Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Does it automatically close the connection?
Yes.
Oh.
That's why it's better.
I didn't miss
It handles the connection. Well, that's what it's for. It's built like that, right? So instead of us doing it manually like the way we did it, I showed you it manually because I wanted to show you the manual way, right? I wanted to do this way because this is the better way.
Has it been before in Java, or is it something that's been included in later versions?
Java 7 and on. Java 6 and before that, you had to do it with the old way. You couldn't do it the new way. This is the new way since Java 7. All right? So if I want to print out, how about if I want to print out something like this? I want to print out the last row, the last row. So I know how to go to the next, result set next. But what if I want to print out the last row, right, of my set, right? So let's try that. So I'm going to say, move my cursor. So result set, hear me guys, dot last, the last row in my result set, right? And now I want to do a sysout, right? And when I do that, I want to say something like this. It's going to tell me the number of rows, yeah? It's my last row. So I'm going to say number of rows then is the number, right? Which I'm going to get, which is the ID number, right? So I'm going to do, again, plus result set dot, and I want to get the get int, with my ID, right? I mean, that's kind of a quick and dirty, but the other way to do that, instead of doing ID, right? Which is because the ID can vary. What if I do if I pull something out, right? Or if I actually an insert or something like that, my IDs may be weird, right? Because even though I insert the ID, it'll insert it in between rows or whatever, but it'll have a different ID than a numerical ID, right? So the better way to do that would be get row. So get the row that we're looking at, right? That's the last row. And if I try this out, if I press play, then I get number of rows is 11. Here's something to note in terms of counting. When we count the number of rows, we count by 1. We start with 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We don't do zero-based counting for the number of rows. Not in database. We do zero-based counting for the number of columns, though. Columns start off at 0, and they go across, right? But the row number, each record, we count records with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. Different than how we count them in the as an array. If I was going to bring these records in to an array, how would I do that? Well, in here, my while loop, right? While I'm doing the result set get string, I'm converting these into strings, so I can create a string array that can hold each of my records, right? I could do that too. Yeah, I'm bringing it into my movie class because my movie class could map exactly the same schema that's of my database. When I bring it in, just like this is about this database 101, guys, right? As I bring this stuff into my database, then I can manipulate it, right? So again, once I can read, I'm golden. The rest of the stuff, right? When I write and I do all the other stuff with it, again, can't I do it with a select string, my query string? A lot of the stuff we do in Java and JDBCs with my query string, right? Okay, here's something. I want to limit my rows. Okay, I want to limit my rows to only 5. What's the SQL statement to limit my rows to 5? I want only 5. I want to have 5 records that come out, no more than 5. What do I do? What? Here,
No, it's limit.
limit 5. Limit 5, right? I go limit 5 and I press play, then I only get 5. Right? That's my SQL statement, right? How about this? I want to start at row 5 and count 5. What's my SQL statement going to be? Now, this is like SQL 101, guys. Nothing to do with me, right? Like this. So 5, comma, 5. 2 numbers. Start where you start, what the cursor that you're starting at, the row that you're starting at, and how many. Let's try this out. So boom. So that's going to be 6 to 10. Right? Still, number of rows is 5 because that's what I'm returning. The last row that I returned means that's I'm getting the row in the last place that my cursor was at. Right? So I'm getting number of rows. Questions so far?
Do we have to manually write the query at the time?
The way I've written it here,
Yeah.
you can certainly replace some of the stuff in here by using.
Class or a method.
There's ways of doing that. For example,
For an instance, we already have stored procedures and functions and
Yes.
figures. Can we access those from database?
yes,
And do some stuff with them?
but the better way to do that. See, we're doing this with statements, and what we want to do with JDBC is something called a prepared statement, where we have more access. I showed you the statement first, right? You see what I'm saying? To show you what it looks like without loading it on with extras, right? Statement is the bare minimum that you can do, like right now. If I do a prepared statement, and let's do that and watch when I do this. So here I'm inside my database. Then let us do this. Let us kind of, do one of these. Put this down here, and inside my complex try, we're not changing this. The connection string stays the same. This piece, right? But this becomes a prepared statement, right? That kind of comes in here like this. So we say prepared statement, which is a different class, right? Which we're going to make this the statement, right? So prepared statement is equal to our connection dot. Now because it's a prepared statement, it's going to be a prepared statement connection. Prepared statement. We're going to pass in our SQL, which is going to be our query string. That's all we do with a prepared statement. Now that we've passed it in this way, right? Notice how we don't have access to our prepared statement. We're going to I included a Java SQL import. We're going to do that to fix this error, right? And we can leave it this way, but now that we've done that, we don't need a query string here, right? We wouldn't need a query string there anymore. All we would need to do, because we've already done it once, is just execute query. We're sending it into our prepared statement first, and then we're executing the query. Everything else right now, let's leave it the same and see what happens if everything works. If I press play, I'm good. All I've changed is from statement to prepared statement. Now you might say, well, there's no advantage, right? No advantage. But let's say I don't want to limit myself here, and then we'll end for the day after this. But I want to say I only want to see movies, right, in my database, my list, that are 3.5 stars and up. Because the movies that are lower than that, I don't want to see because they're poor by Rotten Tomato standards, right? So how would I do that? Well, I know that I have a where statement, right? So there's where, and then here's my more complex statement where my rating, right, is greater than or equal to, and this is the trick, question mark. And the question mark is a placeholder for us, right, that we can use to kind of differentiate between something that's solid and we can inject our own variable, right? It's almost like we're going to do interpolation here, like we normally would do. Okay, so what we do in here is do something like this. I know that my rating is a decimal, right? So I'm going to declare a double of, we're going to call this min rating, right? And the double that we're going to call min rating, right? We're going to say something like this. We want to get the minimum rating. We're going to set the minimum rating to something. We're going to say minimum rating then, min rating. Now you can use some kind of input for this, right? Min rating is going to be equal to 3.5, right? And I need to kind of make it so that's sorry?
Needs to be in the map.
Yeah, I might as well just do one line here, like this. How's that? So min rating is 3.5, right? And now that I've got the minimum rating of 3.5, this is where it becomes a little bit more complex. I want to be able to, my result set is going to get a little bit more complex. It's got to be outside of my try, because what I want to do with it is I want to be able to modify my result set. Okay? Hear me out. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to go back to some of them, a hybrid mode of me using my complex try for some stuff, but I got to bring my result set out for the other pieces, right? Otherwise it won't work. Which means, after I declare this, I need to declare my result set like we did before out here. Result set is going to be called result set. We're going to get another error otherwise, right? And which is going to be equal to null. And which means we don't have to declare it in here. We're going to take it out of the try, out of the complex try piece, and put it within the try catch block over here, where we're going to do something like this, right? And then once we do it this way, we have to manually control it. Notice how it says change result set to static, right? Now, why does it say that? Why does it say change result set to static? Because what I want to do is it's got to be definitely within. I want to definitely declare this inside my try, right? But outside of my complex try. So it's got to be inside of my. It's just outside of my try block, and I put it way up here. That's why. Even these two things, both of these things have to be put in. Sorry, I put them in the wrong place. This should be over here. Otherwise, it would have to make static like this. I mean, I shouldn't have to make it static here. Result set is equal to static, right? Didn't have to make it that way before. Sorry, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. Double min rating, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how it's done. And now here's the other problem. If I've done this, how come I'm declaring it out here, but inside my my try catch, right? I can't get at it. I can't get out this stuff in here. How come? Because this is blocking it. It's almost like it's got its own declaration set, right? That's how it works out. Now, if I made this static, can I make my result set static? No. Because that means it won't be able to change, right? It's kind of weird. Like final static, I mean, it's accessible everywhere. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I make this static, right, result set, like this, right, it doesn't do anything. It's an invalid modifier, right? But if I come in here and try to do my result set, it says change to static, right? Because I'm putting it out here. If I take this and put it in here, like we had before, I didn't have before, right? This is okay, but now we have another problem. It says change result set to static. Either way, it says change result to set static. If I take this up here, outside of my area, this is outside of my main. Again, I can't do it over here. I could do that here, but if I make this static again, I run into this problem where it doesn't get access down here, right? Let's undo just for a second and put it back where it belongs. right? I want to put it in there. I want to take it out of my try catch block, but I'm having a problem because of this access modifier issue, right? This is the way we're used to seeing it in here, right? And notice how my result set, as a result, sorry for the bad pun, but I have no access to it over here, right? I'm preparing it and I'm setting it, but right here, I got no access to it anymore because it's now that I've declared it in here. Now that I've done a prepared statement, right? I've got no access to my result set. And that's a problem, right? But it shouldn't be giving me that issue. Just to make sure I didn't miss anything here, because it would drive me nutty if I went back and I looked at it and I was like, hey, wait, no, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I could have a return, but that's just really weird, right? It's almost like I want to come up here and then return, like one of these, like watch return. Return to take me out of the flow of the whole thing, right? So this is where I have my issue. How do I do this? The result set itself. How do I have access to it here, right? And remember, because I'm using it in my program, I don't have a class. I'm not using it in a class. How do I get access to it when I do this? So I'm in here, no problem. But I'm out here, no. I can't do anything in here. And that's one of the challenges that we're going to have if we do prepared statements. We're going to, when the next time we come back, I'm going to fix it. Remember, the way we write it here is exactly what we want to do. If I leave it like this, by the way, by the by, and if I was going to go back and fix it, what I want to do is I can use the set statement inside my before my result set, like this. So I can say statement dot, and I can set double to my parameter index, right, which would be the first parameter, right? And then I can name my parameter, which is my minimum rating, min rating. Min rating is this parameter right here. But if you notice, as it says, again, I don't have access to that because of the structure of my code. And I'm wondering if even min rating has to come in here in order for me to have access to it over here, for sure. For sure. That is 100% what has to happen. This can stay out here on the outside, this private static SQL statement. That's definitely outside of my program, right? But this min rating stuff has to come inside here. There's just no two things about it. There's no other way it can be done. And the way I've written it before is my result set has got to be out here above my catch, my try catch. That's normally how I would write it. I would write like this: result set is equal to result set. It's equal to null. Take care. That's how I would normally write it. And that's fixing it. That's fixing it for some reason down here. I wonder if that fixed it. Hold on. Yeah, see, now I don't have access to it in here. Which I wouldn't, because I wouldn't do my statement yet. I would do it down in here, right? Like that. Notice how my result is fixed, but not my double min rating. Oh, and my min rating is not equal to anything. I have to set it to 3.5 or something like that. Otherwise, it's not valid. There we go. Okay, that worked. I don't know why it wasn't working before. It's amazing. It worked one way, it didn't work the other way. All right. I love Eclipse. I love Eclipse. I love Eclipse. Okay. Anyway, so now with this, right, we should be able to do the same string we did before, right? But now we're going to get limited to ratings that are greater than 3.5. In order for us to see that rating, right, to print out the rating, is genre, and then if I'm not wrong, before we go for the day, rating over here is 3, right, which is a decimal, but you can add that on anyway, right, because we can just do our genre and then rating, right? So we'll say system sysout, and in my sysout, we'll say the result set and we'll say instead of get string, we'll get double, and the column index will be rating. We can see the rating, and after we do this, we'll say plus kind of the same thing where we have in our string, and we'll change this from a print line to a print, and now we'll get one of these. So here's our resultant set, where all of our movies, right, have a rating of at least 3.5. And we interpolated this up here with our prepared statement as opposed to a regular statement, right, where this question mark is our first interpolation, our first placeholder. I mean, you can make as many placeholders as you want to replace things like movie lists and other statements inside of our query string. So it gives us more power, more control over how we structure everything, right? One thing we can probably put in here is for this one, for the rating, we can put something like, sorry, so before the get result, we can put something like rating plus the rating, right? So when I redo it, it looks a little clearer, right? So there's all movies that are 3.5 stars or higher. And if I want to say all movies that are 4 stars or higher, just to test this out, to show it to you, so we see there's more there. If I say 4.0, right, because it's a double, and if I press play, and I only get a few movies that are all 3 stars, 4 stars or higher. By the way, these are actual ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Right, yeah, so Peanuts movie, Martian, Spotlight, and Bridge of Spies, they're all supposed to be 4.5 or 4 or higher. Right?
Yeah.
No. I got no time. I'm a busy, crazy professor that runs overtime by like 7 minutes, right? Okay, that's it for me for today. It's just connecting to the database, displaying the results, and we talked about a couple of things. A complex try that closes off our statements for us. Oh, one thing we didn't do. Before we go. We need to close off the result set now because the result set is outside of our complex try. So we need to close this off down here with a finally. We need the finally just for result set. We have no choice. And we're going to do the same thing. If result set, right, result set is not equal to null, then we're going to do result set close. We need to do them. All of them have a close. And the reason why we can do this, by the way, is, and the only things that can go inside of our complex try is a closable. They've got to have, they've got to basically extend the interface closable, right? Or implement the interface closable. So all of these ones, connection, prepared statement, result, the result set, all of them they all implement the closable interface. If they don't implement the closable interface, you can't put them inside this try. So that's what it's called the closable try, complex try, one of those kind of things that happens in there. Questions around this, guys? I know I kind of went crazy with this stuff, but, and again, this goes a little bit outside of what they talk about in the book, but you can't do JDBC properly unless you do this. Understanding, how do we connect? Understanding when we connect what we get back from our statement. Setting up our database. We don't have to set up our database again. That's done, hopefully for most of us. And next week when we get back, we'll do the rest of the CRUD. So we've done our read, we need to our update, our delete, and our creation. If we can do that, you're golden. One thing I didn't have a chance to talk about is our assignment number 5, which I will quickly bring up since you guys are hanging out with me and you're not running away, right? And I'm not running away, no one's pounding at the door. I'll just do it. Here's assignment number 5. It's up on eCentennial, right? And what it is a combination of our JDBC and JavaFX application, right? So we want to make a JDBC application that uses JavaFX to kind of display these objects, right? So here's the overview. Develop a Java application that will allow the players to submit information about themselves and the games that they are playing online, right? The information will be stored in a simple MySQL database. The database tables are shown in the following picture. So we haven't talked about how to make connections, a foreign key, and all that kind of stuff. We haven't talked about any of that stuff, right? But notice how we have our player table, right, with player ID, first name, last name, and address and postal code and all this kind of stuff, or player info, which is a foreign key for the player in game table, right? Which also uses a foreign key of game ID and game title that also goes in for game ID and player ID. So player ID is the foreign key for this player in game. And this is what we want to return, really. At the end of the day, we want a list of games with the player and the game ID. Okay? Again, you may use phpMyAdmin to create your database on the MySQL server. You should populate the table game with titles of games that you have played during this semester. So this table right here, right? It's populated. And your UI should provide the necessary JavaFX components that will allow the user to enter and display the data. I'm not telling you what you need. You set it up yourself. Because if I'm too strict, it'll be too much, right? You know, it's only one little 10% assignment here, right? And you will use JDBC to provide the following operations: insert, update, display, and you may use JavaFX components to display the reports if you want to, and allow the user to select the player ID. So if I want to select my player ID, maybe I'll do my selection like almost like a pull down, and then from the player ID, I'll see, you know, all the games that the players played, as an example, in some kind of select component, like a drop-down list or a combo box, right? Okay, that's it. And it's due, what does it say? Use prepared statements to implement all the database operations. We just did it now.
Oh, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
All right, cool, we're done.
Yeah, we can get you.
Let's do it right now.
I'll watch the video.
Right, so the only thing you guys can't do, we haven't talked about inserting into the database, but that's a SQL statement, right? Think about it.
Oh, yeah.
How do we do a SQL? We have to, you know, we interpolate with a prepared statement. We can interpolate and add a SQL statement in there for our data. An update, we haven't done an update, and we haven't done a create. We haven't done those. We haven't done the full CRUD. We've only done display. So next week we'll do the rest. Huh? We can do SQL and we can do other things. We're going to do there's other little intricacies in terms of making JDBC work properly. So there's some built-in methods we're going to use, right? So let's wait till next week. I'll give you the whole piece, but if you want to read ahead, it's all in your book. Everything you need to make it go. Okay? Questions? Again, this is due December the 11th, which sounds like it's far away, but it's only a couple weeks away. We're in week 11. This is due week 13. Okay? 10% of your final grade to make up your full 100. All right? With your final exam being 15%. Okay? So we really reduced it a lot because of our quiz today. Okay? All right, guys. Take care, and we'll see you next week.